Nashville Predators take on the Calgary Flames tonight at Bridgestone Arena, and despite everything we talked about over the past couple of weeks, despite everything we said about losing faith in the Preds, I'm going to tell you why I actually think tonight be a good game for the Nashville Predators. Plus, John Hynes' contract is up at the end of the season. There is no chance that he goes anywhere else or he's not brought back. Right? That's a topic of conversation we'll talk about today. Plus, it's Tuesday, but we're going back to Monday and we're doing some plus minus from the past week of Preds hockey. Coming up today on Locked On Predators.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Predators your first listen of the day. I'm Nick Morgan. I'm a writer and editor at on the forecheck.com. Do we want to just do that intro over again?
I kind of just want to leave it.
Okay. And I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer at ontheforecheck.com.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Thank you. Great.
Allergy season, people. Allergy season.
A great start to the show. So we put the Predators on blast yesterday. We talked about how they have a uphill climb to the playoffs. They have one of the toughest schedules remaining in the NHL. We talked about how the Stars and Vegas basically had cakewalks, and that they had much easier roads to get to the finals. We said all that yesterday, and then what happens? Both the Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars lose to non-playoff opponents. Golden Knights lost 3-2 to the New Jersey Devils of all teams, and the Dallas Stars got absolutely slaughtered 6-2 by the Vancouver Canucks. So, yeah, not only do the Predators now have control of that first wild card spot again, but they also have gained ground on the Vegas Golden Knights. So, yeah.
I guess we need to rage more. Like, maybe it's us.
Yeah, maybe this is like the universe doing this to spite us.
I'm okay with that. If that's what it takes, I'm willing to self-sacrifice to get this team into the playoffs. I'm willing to do that.
Yeah. But it does put a different perspective on tonight's game. Of course, the Predators take on the Calgary Flames at Bridgestone Arena. They're going to be playing again 1 week from today. Also, so 2 Tuesday games against the Calgary Flames. Yeah, I mean, overall, what are your thoughts kind of heading into this one, Ann? I know Sunday was brutal, but I know tonight's going to be an equally tough game.
Yeah, this Calgary Flames team is absolutely loaded. And that's not a sentence I think most people affiliated with the NHL thought that they would be saying. But this team is packed with talent. And they went all in at the trade deadline. I mean, they are going for it. And they're having a ton of success. They were 7-2-1 in their last 10 games. This is a really, really, really good team. They have Matthew Tkachuk has 98 points on the season. Johnny Gaudreau has 107 points on the season.
Is he like Gretzky watch right now?
No, we don't do the Gretzky watch. We don't watch. We
only for Matt Duchene.
Yes, there you go. So this Calgary Flames team, goaltending is fantastic. Their offensive production is fantastic. They are just so hot right now. So on paper, this looks like feels a little bit like impending potential doom on paper. So there's definitely some things the Predators are going to have to do very, very well tonight to beat this team, but it can be done. The Predators beat the Flames in overtime when they met up in November. And now Juuse Saros played out of his mind in that game. So, that's going to be a key because they had 40 shots on goal. I mean, and they're hot. This is a team who just generates high quality chances. So, I think this is going to be, and we've said this over the last couple of games, this is definitely going to be a statement game. I'm not sure though what it's going to stay, which is what makes me nervous.
Yeah. I remember back that November game. That was one of those the Preds had absolutely zero business winning type of games, and
none. Yes.
And that was like the weird, I mean, there's just so much to that game that was just like, okay. And that was like, I remember that game because that was kind of one of those first instances where I thought this season, like the things are starting to go the Nashville Predators way a little bit. I mean, look, they're getting slaughtered in this game and they're still finding a way to win it. Maybe this team is different this year. And it's kind of been the opposite over the past couple of weeks. So wouldn't it be fitting if this was a full circle moment where the Predators came out and made a statement, a positive statement at the end of this game?
Yeah.
And it is possible because the big thing you have to consider, and Anna, I kind of want to get your thoughts on this too. How do you bounce back from an 8-3 loss? Is this going to be a case where the Predators really do what they say in the post game? We have a soundbite from Roman Yosi we'll get to in a second. Are they going to do what they say? Are they really putting us behind them? Are they really going to, they all talked about their positives in that game. Are they really going to build off of that? Are they really going to learn their lesson? Are they really going to come out mad and try to make a statement in this game? Or are the Predators baked? Like, do you stick a fork in them or are they done? That's going to kind of be the big question for this game is how do you respond to getting embarrassed in front of everybody?
In some ways, and I hate to say this, in some ways, I wonder if just such a horrific home loss against the Blues may fuel something in the Predators that a 4-3, 3-2 loss maybe would not have done for this game. That this team wants to get back on the ice and wants to compete. And for as embarrassed as they were and as just demolished as they were on Sunday against the Blues, that really could be fuel. And here's the thing. I think that this is a team that has worked so hard and invested so much in the mental toughness component of the sport of hockey. And I think that is one of the things that has generated a turnaround for not just individual players, but for the team in general. And this is going to be a really great test of walking that out, walking out what they're saying. You don't get too high, don't get too low. After Sunday's game, Nick Cousins, somebody said, how do you move on from a game like this? And Nick Cousins said, you flush it and move on.
Yeah.
And so let's see tonight, how much of Sunday's game can they shake off and how much can they tap into the fuel of that kind of loss and make Calgary sort of the recipients of some wrath.
Yeah.
There's great potential here.
Yeah. Let's hear what Roman Yosi had to say because he had a comment kind of like that. And I wanted to break it down too, because there's, you could kind of take it in two different ways. Let's hear it.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely concerning. I think we're obviously in the playoff push and, tonight we talked about how important this game is, how much we're playing for, and I think, like I said before, I thought we came out with the right attitude, with the right energy. We played well, had a couple good looks in the first. I think could have scored a couple more, but for some reason, like I said, we fell apart, and this time of the year, that just can't happen. Things are going to happen. There's some things that are out of your control, and but it's how we respond, and we definitely didn't respond well tonight.
Okay, first off, for those of you watching on YouTube, did you notice the classic picture with young Barry Trotz with hair and a goatee in the left corner above Roman Yosi? First off, did you notice that?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, Barry Trotz with hair. It just draws the eyeball.
Yeah, he looked solid back then. He looked like he was going to murder somebody.
Yeah.
Roman Yosi. So I have different perspectives on this. One is that, if you take the words at face value, he said all the right things.
Correct.
The other way to look at it is that it was kind of minimizing the impact of that 8-3 loss. I mean, there was a lot of, and we heard this from Nick Cousins too. We started good. We did a lot of things well. We fell apart in that second period, and then we came out strong. There's two ways you could look at it. One is that, they're saying all the right things, that there's truth to them. They're trying to find positives. And the other is that they're not treating this situation with enough urgency. So kind of wondering where you fall on that debate, Anne.
One of the reasons that I think it's important to listen to that clip, and if you're on YouTube, you will have noticed this, is I've never seen Roman Josi look as stunned as he did in that post-game interview. He looks just almost baffled and stunned. And so this, for as much as, people say, oh, they're not taking it seriously, I really feel like that was a huge shock to them. The second period was just a shock to them, and they were deer in the headlights. And I think this is where you are going to be able to see them do this. Don't get too high, don't get too low. This is a mantra of John Hynes. And as they are talking about it and breaking down the game, I think that's the process of don't get too high, don't get too low. Because again, feelings are like farts. You're going to come out of that game and you are going to feel like nothing is good and this team is a disaster and they're not going to make it to the playoffs. And I get why you feel that way, but I think it's good for the players to be able to say, no, wait a minute. In the first period, we had a couple of really good looks that didn't go in. And so I don't feel like it's denial. I feel like that's the process that they have trained themselves to do, because you are not going to get much of value out of a game like this by just coming out of it and feeling like crap. Like, you really do need to do the work of saying, no, wait a minute. We did do some things right. And here are the things that worked well in the first. Here are the things we did in the second that were a hot mess. You've got to be able to own the hot mess too. But I don't feel like it's denial. I feel like this is the process that they have trained themselves to do to keep their mental energy not too high, not too low. So I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I do think that the loss rocked their world. But I think what they're doing with it is the right thing.
I agree with that. I think that's a perfect way to sum it up. More on this in a second, including John Hynes' contract situation. There are a lot of fans have some opinions on this. We'll get into that. First, though, want to mention today's show brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all of your betting stats and sports info. You can find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of Major League Baseball season. And in a couple of weeks, the start of the Stanley Cup playoffs. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs to esports and more. They got a lot of different props and odds. So, checking them out tonight before the Preds game. You'd see they'll probably have some stuff like who's going to score the first goal, over, under, that stuff. So if you want to make some money, listen to our podcast, then head over to BetOnline. Put your money where the mouth is. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. And are you surprised when you look at the Calgary stats this year? And you look at where their standings are you surprised that we really haven't heard more about the Flames this year? And to put that in perspective, everybody's talking about the Florida Panthers. Everybody's talking about Colorado. We know how good they are. You even look and see like a lot of people giving a team like Minnesota a lot of credit this year. A lot of teams in the East, but it just seems like even as good as they are, it just seems like the Flames are kind of one of those forgotten teams. And I look at them and I see a Stanley Cup contender.
100% agree with you. Our counterpart at Locked On Flames, Jess Belmosto, has said that this is the quietest 100-point season or almost 100-point season for Matthew Tkachuk that there's been. Nobody else would be at 98 points and nobody talking about it except for somebody on the Calgary Flames.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is market. And I think that's something that Nashville Predators fans can relate to. I think part of it is
Roman
smaller
Yosi
market.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think part of it too is just full disclosure. You're not used to hearing the team Calgary Flames in a conversation with the term Stanley Cup contender. Like, I just think that this has snuck up on the league. This team has snuck up on the league, whether right or wrong. I just don't think people have paid much attention. And I think the Calgary Flames are going to shock the fire out of some people in this postseason. They have the potential. I agree with you. They have the potential to go all the way and win this. And people just aren't talking about it. And they've got some superstars. I mean, they've got players having just out of your mind years. Yeah. And again, they're not the players that people across the league are talking about.
Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk are top two in points. Gaudreau has 107 points, including 69 assists.
Crazy.
Nice. Matthew Tkachuk with 98 points. Both of those are a couple of goals away from 40. The interesting thing about those two is on the off season, when everybody always talks about it, that there is a chance that they may lose one or both of those guys. Tkachuk's a restricted free agent, but there's kind of been a lot of chatter about maybe his future. Johnny Gaudreau is unrestricted. There's a lot of people talking about how he may get, an Artemi Panarin type contract, like $10 million plus per year. If you're the Calgary Flames, obviously you want both back. But if you had to choose between those two,
oh gosh,
which one would you go with?
Oh my gosh. You want them both back 100%. I hate when you ask me the hard questions. I would
one on me the other day.
Well, it's my job.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
I don't know. I mean, and here's the thing, and because I can't answer this question, that is why I think they're all in.
Yeah.
This year, because this may be it. Like, this is their window, because I think that they're going to potentially lose one of them, and you want them both if you're going to pursue the Stanley Cup. I don't know. I mean, who would you get? Like, who would you keep?
Well, I mean, there's like the logical thing, like Tkachuk is younger, so maybe that's who they go with. The thing, like, that's another hard question too, because there's such different type of players. This is like, remember in Nashville last year where they were talking about, if you had to trade either Duchene or Johansson, which one would you do?
Gosh, yeah.
They each bring like such different things to the team.
Right.
Chuck is more of like that kind of like the two-way, like the pest, the type of player who will, piss you off,
annoy you,
also piss you off by scoring. A slightly taller Brad Marchand. Johnny Gaudreau is just like, the pure playmaker, the guy who is just so skilled. He can kind of just do anything. Both young and both in their prime. And let's also not forget Elias Lindholm right behind them, with 39 goals, one away from a 40-goal season. So the Flames have depth. I mean, they may wind up losing one of those two by year's end, but they still have some depth there. And we've also gone this far and without talking about Jacob Markstrom, who
oh my gosh, he's just incredible.
who may now be the Vezina favorite, thanks to Igor Shesterkin kind of, petering out a little bit. Jacob Markstrom has 9 shutouts this year and a 923 save percentage. I mean, these are unreal numbers. So he may be your Vezina favorite.
He may sneak in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, he did play. The Flames are coming into Nashville on the second of a back-to-back, and Markstrom started last night in Chicago, and the Flames won 5-2. So suspecting, even though there's, lots of talk about starting goalies and back-to-backs when you're in Nashville, but I suspect we will not see Markstrom tonight. So there is one tiny favor maybe in the Predators direction. So, but Markstrom has been incredible this year.
Atlanta Gladiators legend Dan Vladar will probably get the start.
Will be in that,
Will be in
and he's not done too shabby in his starts either. So it's not, he's not nothing.
Just under a 910 save percentage, which is pretty good for a backup. We talked about this when we were talking about Yosi and Riddick. You don't need your backup goaltender to be, a
lights out,
a Hall of Fame goaltender. You just need him to go in there and play well enough, to win a 3-2, 4-3 type of game. And that's what Vladar's been able to do this year. The Predators either way are going to have their work cut out for them. The one thing I will say, about this game tonight, Anne, is that historically, and this was even back to a couple of weeks ago, historically, when the Predators have had a awful performance like they had against St. Louis, they have done relatively well. Like, they have come out with more juice. They have come out with, a little bit more intensity, a little bit more vigor. So that's what gives me hope tonight. Now, in a case like this, if this was back in January or February, I would say if the Predators came out strong, if this was a game in which they played very, very well to the end, gave Calgary all their worth and wound up losing like 2-1 or something like that, I would be happy with it. Obviously, the reality is not that now. The Preds need to play that well and win. Because we're at the point of the season where every game for the Predators is going to be must win from here on out. But I will say, if the Predators play very, very well in this game, I will not be happy if they lose, but I will be encouraged if they come out and perform very, very strong, especially within the first 20 minutes. That first period for the Predators tonight is going to tell us a lot about what that team learned from the loss on Sunday.
Yes, I would agree. This is going to be a very big game, and we need the 2 points. The Predators have got to get points, and it would be huge. A win tonight against the Calgary Flames would be huge for the Nashville Predators, not just for the 2 points, but also as a huge reset from a disastrous game against the St. Louis Blues. So can't underestimate how big a win tonight and a strong performance by the Predators will be, just to carry them through, the remainder of this schedule, which is going to be brutal. To be able to beat the Calgary Flames is going to be the boost that the Predators might need to get through Minnesota, Colorado, the Flames again, and Tampa Bay. So lots on this game, lots riding on this game. Lots of other conversation we want to get to about the Fire Hynes crowd that seems to have emerged from their hole. So we're going to talk about that briefly, and we're going to touch on our plus minus of the week that we didn't get to because we were rage podcasting yesterday. But first, want to let you know, as one does, This episode's brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain store to have all of the parts that you need. Why go there and endure all these questions while somebody behind the counter orders parts off of their computer, choosing the only brand that they stock? You have a computer with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. You can save time and money when you use Rock Auto. Why would you choose to spend 30, 50, or 100% more for the exact same part from a chain store or car dealership? Rock Auto's prices are reliably low. This is a family business. They've been serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years, and they have everything that your car or truck could need. Go and explore their easy-to-use website today, and you will find the solution for your auto parts needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
So, article in The Athletic this past week about John Hynes' future in Nashville, with all the talk about Philip Forsberg and his status. It's been brought up that John Hynes is also technically a free agent at the end of this year. He doesn't have a contract. I don't really foresee a situation in which he is not offered back. But
correct.
That has not stopped the Twitterverse from kind of trying to sway David Poile to maybe not bring John Hynes back.
Yeah, that makes me want to rage podcast some more.
Let's do it. We got about 5 minutes to wrap this up.
All right. So there is no valuable, true statistical realm under which firing John Hynes makes any sense for this franchise. People are complaining about, well, he's reinstituted the line blender. He's running Saros into the ground. He's, not going to get this team into the playoffs.
But is that John Hynes?
Thank you. It is not his fault. The line blender, you have two of your players who have been high production, kind of hitting slumps. What are you going to do at some point? And I feel like John Hynes gave Forsberg and Duchene lots of time to sort of ruminate where they were. And at some point, you have to make some hard decisions. As far as running Saros into the ground, we talked about this yesterday. What other choice do you have? There is no other viable choice. Once the trade deadline passed, it is very obvious how this is going to play out. This is not on John Hynes. He's working with what he has. Not getting the team into the playoffs, not on John Hynes necessarily. And I get why some people feel like coaches should take some responsibility for that, but I feel like he has positioned this team as well as he can with the talent that is on this team. So the idea that John Hynes is somehow the problem in Nashville is absolutely baffling to me. Absolutely baffling to me. I can't even find an argument that makes sense to me that somehow John Hynes is the hitch in the giddy up for this team.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to the debate that happened when John Hynes was hired. People posted it as new, for whatever reason, they posted it for his record in New Jersey, which by the way, the players for the New Jersey Devils sucked when John Hynes was there.
Fact.
They posted like, they didn't want, another recycled hockey man sort of situation. They wanted this candidate. They wanted that candidate. They wanted somebody shiny and new from the Swedish Elite League or whatever. So I think there is a lot of it rooted in that a lot of people never wanted John Hynes to begin with.
Yes.
I think he has brought this team back. I mean, you look at the coaching job that he's done, a lot of people predicted this team to be the second worst in the division this year, worse than Chicago.
Yes.
Oh, barely better than the Arizona Coyotes. and you look at what he's done and how close he has to the Predators on the precipice of the playoffs. This is like, and I know it's like people complain. It's like, well, what's the point of the Predators getting into the postseason if they're just going to get killed in the first round? We want a high draft pick. We want this. We need a lottery chance and blah, 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 blah. The fact that you're able to take what a lot of people thought was kind of a B, C tier team and bring them into the conversation of the playoffs really tells you a lot about how the mindset has changed from Laviolette to John Hynes. And if nothing else, that's something to build upon. For the record, there's some things, I would maybe get on Hynes for not addressing the penalty situation a little bit more. Maybe that. I don't blame him for the Juuse Saros starting back-to-back thing because, as we mentioned yesterday, David Rittich is simply not getting it done this year, which sucks because we all like David Rittich. Then it's just like, if the Predators falter down the stretch, you got to go back to the trade deadline and be like, okay, well, what did they do to make this team better? Did they invest in this team? Because all the teams the Preds have been playing and losing against have been getting better. Unless you're the Philadelphia Flyers and you sold off everybody. That's kind of a weird thing. So, I certainly agree. I think there's some things you can kind of knock Hynes for this season, but to the point where you're going to pin the entirety of them possibly missing the playoffs on John Hynes, give me a break.
Ridiculous.
Give me a break.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Look, if you want somebody to blame, look a little bit higher above John Hynes to the GM's office.
Yeah.
Be mad at that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I would agree with that. And look, John Hynes, one of the hardest things to do is to improve the health of the locker room. And he came into a hot mess of a locker room. And I think we are really seeing the work that he has invested in the health of this locker room. And it's a slow burn, but it's going to translate on the ice as this team, kind of hones its lineup and its roster. So just stop with the fire, Hynes. Makes no sense. Not here for it.
Not here. No, absolutely.
Not here for it.
Real quick, a very abbreviated plus minus this week. What you got, Ann? Starts off with a plus.
All right. Always start off with a plus. My plus is Matt Duchene. I tweeted this the other day. Most marriages argue about sex or money. In my house, we argue about the awesomeness of Matt Duchene, and I am, again, correct. Matt Duchene, 39 goals. He took over the franchise record for power play goals against the Chicago team. I love what I am seeing from Matt Duchene. I know that he has kind of gone through a dry spell, but this is somebody who is just getting better as a player, not just production-wise, but in so many other ways. So fat plus to Matt Duchene.
I am going to give a plus to Nick Cousins. And I can't believe I'm saying this, one of the bright spots against the St. Louis Blues from this past weekend, had a goal, had an assist, was elevated up to the second line to play next to Ryan Johansson. And I thought he did very well. We kind of saw it a little bit from Cousins last year. I don't know, if the Predators ever needed a boost, he was somebody who could kind of play up in the lineup a little bit. I thought he played pretty well. I mean, it was tough to find positives out of that game. But I did like, Cousins coming in, providing a spark, providing a little bit of a two-way play. Who knows? He may get more chances like that down the road.
Yep. Okay. I'll give you that. Now let's tackle the minuses. Always just got to speak a little bit of truth. And the biggest, fattest minus for me was the loss of Jeremy Lauzon. He left the Chicago game with a lower body injury. He's week to week. And this is somebody who, let's face it, we all were a little bit like, say what? When they traded for him, second round pick. And people thought this is ridiculous. Jeremy Lauzon has come in here, and you want to talk about a puzzle piece that has just snapped into place, and that has been him. He has been terrific in the short time that the Predators have had him on the defensive line, and to lose him, especially at this point, is very discouraging and frustrating, not just for the team, but because I really feel like we were just starting to see how important his fit defensively was going to be for the team. So minus, and hope for the best to get him back as soon as we can.
Yeah, in a season full of pleasant surprises for the Nashville Predators this year, the fact that Lauzon has been able to come in and actually play very, very well has been a high note for the Preds, and they seem to have a lot of stock in him. So maybe we'll see him become kind of a more integral part in seasons to come. My minus goes to the Roman Yosi 100-point campaign. We mentioned this a little bit yesterday. He was on pace for 100. Now only has 1 point in his last 6 games, which is a goal against Chicago. He's stuck at 88, which is still, the best defensive season since Ray Bourque in 1994, and he may pass that. But of course, he's well off the pace. He would need to score 12 points in the final 6 Predators games to reach that mark. Which
challenge accepted.
I guess. Hey, Vladimir Tarasenko just had 11 points in 4 games this past week, so that is quite possible. But it doesn't seem likely that that's going to happen.
Yeah. And of course, we always end on a plus because we are optimists if we are nothing else. And I want to end on the plus of Philip Forsberg's agent sitting down face to face with David Poile. Let's talk. I will bring the cookies. Let's get something done. So the fact that there is still conversation going, and it would be fantastic to sort of nail down a contract with Philip Forsberg any day now would be great with me. So keep talking, guys. Let's get something done here and nail down Philip Forsberg, long-term Nashville Predator.
I love the fact that it's not like wait and see. It's not, well, let's see how the playoffs go. It's no, let's just talk now. Hey, I said before, you get the actual sense that Philip Forsberg wants to be back and be a member of the Nashville Predators, and it's not just kind of half in and half out.
Yes,
we're going to say
from your lips to the hockey god's ears.
We're going to say this, and he's going to sign with the New York Rangers or something in 3 months. So.
No, don't even put it out there.
Yeah, so tomorrow, of course, is going to be an interesting show. Predators versus Flames breakdown. We'll have a full recap of that. Until then, Anne, where can the fine people find your work?
You can find my work at ontheforecheck.com, and you can find me on Twitter at ANK_Mama on Ice.
You can find me at ontheforecheck.com as well. Be sure to follow the podcast on Twitter at LO_Predators. And if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to like the video, subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what you thought of the show, any of our takes, or if there's something you want us to discuss in a future episode. That's going to do it for us today on Locked On Predators. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We'll be back tomorrow with Preds Flames recap.